Hello again, I'm Maggie Whitehouse, and I'm a lifetime student of the Judeo-Christian mystical tradition known as Kabbalah. I've posted quite a few videos here on YouTube. You may have seen some of them before. I started back in 2007, and in the intervening years, of course, I've learned so much more studying and teaching Kabbalah. So I thought it'd be a great idea to kind of start again, because the whole point of Kabbalah is that it's meant to update with the age, and times have changed quite a lot since 2007. This is a perennial wisdom tradition. It's based on two diagrams, Jacob's ladder, this one here, and the tree of life, this one here. Not all the traditions use both the diagrams, but my tradition does. So in starting off, I think I need to inform you of my hermeneutic. That's a wonderful Greek word, which basically means, I've written it down here to make quite sure, the philosophy of interpretation, specifically in terms of Bible studies and theology. But I think it's easier to just say bias. Every one of us comes to any spiritual teaching with a bias. We all have a bias of what we believe in and where we're coming from. So it's only fair, if I'm going to do a load more videos on Kabbalah, to tell you what my bias is, what my hermeneutic is, so that you can decide whether or not these videos are for you. Basically, I was raised Church of England in the United Kingdom, and I never really thought about it. I turned up at Christmas, I sometimes turned up at Easter, I went when my parents told me to go, and occasionally when I grew up. And I didn't think about it at all. So I was an armchair Christian. And it wasn't until my first husband died when I was 33. We'd been married for 1 year and 16 days in total. And at his deathbed, the hospital chaplain told me he wasn't going to go to heaven because he wasn't a Christian. Now, Henry was an atheist. And it seemed to me, it was just in these life-changing moments, because that man was actually an angel. It was horrific at the time, but it woke me up, because why was it that I, who was not as good a man as Henry, for sure, was going to go to heaven for signing on the correct dotted line, whereas he was not? And that woke me up. That started me in a lifetime journey of studying faith. Obviously, for a lot of people, it would have turned you to atheism. And I kind of tried that, but God just wouldn't go. I threw that guy Jesus out of the window for a long time, but God simply wouldn't leave. So my journey was all about thinking, what is this God about? What is this teaching of Jesus all about? What is this religion all about? And how come somebody who was so kind and so loving and so open in his lifetime suddenly changed after his resurrection into judging us all and telling us where to get off? And of course, it isn't like that. But my journey over the last, 29 years or more has been an extraordinary one of rediscovering, going into in depth all these biblical teachings and understanding that we're meant to read them on 4 levels. In fact, we're not meant to read them at all. They're meant to be read to us so that we discuss them. And Kabbalah is an oral tradition. This is a difficult thing for somebody to say when they've written at least 6 books about Kabbalah, but it is an oral tradition because it's not meant to get stuck in the age that it was taught. It's meant to grow and expand and adapt. And these 2 wonderful diagrams ensure that Kabbalah does not become a system of Chinese whispers. Any tradition you study of Kabbalah is almost certainly valid and excellent as long as it has at least one of these diagrams, because the diagrams are what make it relevant to the present day. So my hermeneutic was coming to it from a Christian background that felt betrayed. And it was meeting a Jewish man and studying Kabbalah in a Jewish group in London for many years that I regained or renewed a faith. And I could not have done it without the Jewish tradition. I am incredibly grateful for those years steeped in a certain amount of Jewish culture, not a deep amount, but a certain amount, which encouraged me to examine where Jesus was coming from. So my hermeneutic is Kabbalah based on what the teaching would have been in Jesus's time. And these are not just Christian teachings. Jesus was never a Christian. Jesus was there to try and transform and update his own wonderful tradition, which just needed a fresh start. And we need fresh starts in our faith all the time. Since the age of enlightenment, we've become so rational, we've become so locked off to mystery. Of course, we want mystery. Harry Potter is mystery. Lord of the Rings is mystery. All the great books have something of a mystery tradition in them. That's why they pull to us, because our hearts and souls need something to believe in. We may just believe in our football club or the glories of chocolate, but we need something to believe in. So my hermeneutic is studying biblical Kabbalah as Jesus might have done. And Jesus does interpret the Bible in an absolutely unique way. He's all about focusing on the love, on the outsider, on how the person who's outside the system, outside the tradition even, is quite often far easier to teach, and somebody who is also much wiser than many people who can get locked down into the law of a tradition. Now, my hermeneutic is also Cordoveran Kabbalah. In the modern age, it's often known as Toledo or Toledano Kabbalah. This is a Kabbalah that simultaneously predates the Lurianic system, which is very popular nowadays and has been since the 17th century, but also is extremely relevant for today when we know about things called the law of attraction, and how we know that we, through our minds and our actions, are co-creators with the Holy One of the whole of reality. The Lurianic system was incredibly valid and very important after the Inquisition, because the Jewish nation, the Israelites, were expelled from the Iberian Peninsula. They'd gone through a pretty big version of hell, and they wanted to know why bad things happened to good people. And Luria's inspirational prognosis on that was that when the universe was created, the Holy One flowed the light into the vessels of the tree of life, which is a symbolic aspect of the universe. And the light was too strong for the vessels, so they broke. That meant that there were shards called klipot, which attacked the universe. And these are an external form of evil that attack good people. So that tradition took off like wildfire. And of course, it really locked into the Christian tradition of the devil, of the external attacking us and tempting us. However, it's not conversant with Genesis, the book of Genesis, when the Elohim created the heavens and the earth. And she said, and it is a she, Elohim is a feminine noun with a masculine plural ending, and she created the universe. And the only time she didn't say it was good was when things had to be divided, when the eggs had to be broken, if you like, to make the omelette, when she divides the light from the dark and the waters from the land. Apart from the division process, which creates the binary aspect of the universe, everything Elohim did, she saw as being good or very good. So that indicates to Toledano Kabbalists that the universe is not broken. The universe is utterly perfect, and the universe is self-repairing. The job of the Kabbalist is to understand that evil comes from the misuse of human free will. An earthquake isn't evil, an earthquake is a planet sneezing. So it's human free will that creates evil. So that's my hermeneutic, and that's the basis on which I'm going to be recording future videos on Kabbalah. And the next one will be the Tree of Life and how it works. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope we'll meet again in the future.